Well, welcome to Silverstone. It's the full GP circuit for this, the second round of the Pro SIMRIG Super Touring 2024 Sim Series. It's a perfect acceleration sim racing organised series sponsored by Pro SIMRIG. And my name is Chris Dawes, and I'm delighted. I'll bring him in very shortly, but we've got Aces Alex Newman that's joining me on the comms this time. Broadcast director Tom Farrell is working flat out in the background, representing his company 2F Media Productions. And of course, we got the main man, Mick Sutton from PASR, as he tells me I've got to say it. And the safety car driver this time, sorry, is Mick Sutton again. He got an easy ride last time. He'll be hoping for the same. And round this big, broad Silverstone circuit, I think it's fair to assume that that'll be okay. He'll be safe and he'll get away with it. So this, as I say, is round number 2. It's a 23-lap race, which means we've got a mandatory pit stop in here where they either need to change tyres or put at least a litre of fuel in. That's the plan for today. Next round, on the 1st of October, we've got 2 sprint races around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and then we go to the night race at Brands Hatch Indy, where I was just at in the weekend just gone in the real world. 50-lap race, including pit stop in the dead of night. Then we go to Imola for a 29-lap race with a pit stop, and then my local circuit in November for 2 20-lap races around the very fast Castle Combe circuit. Round 7 takes us up to Croft, 2 18-lap races there, and then we round out the championship on the 7th of January at Alton Park International for a long 33-lap race, including a pit stop there as well. So, everything happened that you can expect in that 2 18-lap races around Donington GP circuit last time, but they don't get to make amends in a race number 2 this time. It's all done in a single race. Now, there's a reason why they're entering this. Well, first of all, sorry, I forgot this part. The cars. I've got to try and make sure I say these right. The Fortix Mando, the Gojira Ascent, the Peugeot 46, the Renoir Lagoon, and the Vorax Vector. Ask your parents, they'll know exactly what touring cars these are. And it is actually a variety of speeds, acceleration, fuel consumption, tyre wear, everything that we get on these cars. And there's swings and roundabouts, strengths and weaknesses in different parts. So we've got a good variety of cars being used by our drivers over the course of this season. In terms of what we're expecting them to compete for, first prize, Pro SIMRIG PSR 1 with a choice of wheel bracket. Runner-up gets the Pro SIMRIG PSR 3, and the third place gets the monitor stand for the Pro SIMRIG as well. There is also a raffle for people that qualify, and it's things like they've got to have competed in all rounds, they've got to have a clean record, all of those, and not have finished in certainly the top 2 positions to be able to get a Pro SIMRIG PSR 3. And every round, we have a very hard task where we have to pick a driver of the round, and everybody's able to get involved in voting for that, and they get a pair of 3M UK sim gloves to recognise the effort that they've put in over the latest round. They've been practicing all day and they're already out on circuit doing the qualifying, but the championship stands. We weren't able to do this at Donington Park for the opening round, but we can now look at the championship standings. Nathan Williams, no surprise, top of the table, a double victory, pure domination, including race 2 where he had to actually fight his way through after a tardy start, but he sits there with a massive 65 points. Nicky Taylor's only 4 points behind him, Jordan Taylor 7 points behind. Then we've got Carl Felvers, Albert Henriksen Bell, Joe Lask, Luke Sintler, Brad Smith. 9th is Thomas Potter, and rounding out your top 10 is Hayden Gray. So that is the top 20 in the championship standings at the moment. And I believe that they're going to be they're already out doing their flying laps. You can see it on the map. And it's the perfect time for me to introduce my co-commentator. Delighted to work for the first time with this young man that is a very talented commentator, so I hear. I don't know whether to call you Alex Newman or Aces, but either way, welcome, my friend. How you doing?
You're far too kind, far too kind. It's an absolute pleasure to work alongside you as well. Looking at today's race as well and the championship points so far, we could see quite a fluctuation in positions because it's all very, very closely packed right now. And this is obviously probably one of my favorite circuits Silverstone, just so iconic, and especially in recent years as well, bringing probably some of the best racing in both sim racing and real life racing as well. But Castle Coombe as well is definitely up there as well. It's also my local circuit, but it's
Ah, I
still
didn't
like 3
realise
hours
that.
away. It's still ages away, but it's still
Oh, okay.
my local circuit.
Fair enough. Where are you then?
I'm from Wales. You can sit sympathy now if you
Oh,
want.
no, I resisted. No, no, no. I'm only joking. Well, good man. Well, we'll both enjoy the Castle Coombe round. We know it's a crazy, crazy quick place where I fell in love with racing, and where I started my commentary career. So I look forward to that. But yeah, you're right. This Silverstone GP circuit. I mean, especially this bit here now. Maggots, Beckett's. I was just talking about this complex on the weekend when I was commentating on the Radicals at Brands Hatch, and I've had the opportunity to drive a Radical SR3 along that section there. It is lightning quick. Just grip it and rip it through that section. Now, the big thing, Aces, is that I believe that we might see fluctuation, but maybe not so much at the top, because looking at the times they were doing in practice, it kind of went with form. Nathan Williams did look like he was the quickest. He is at the moment. Then it was the two Taylors, Nicky and Jordan Taylor, second and third. And at the moment, they just seem to be the class of the field, don't they?
It does seem to be that. Yeah, you can also see quite an obvious pattern starting to form here on the leaderboard from the color coding of the cars on the leaderboard. It does seem the red cars. I'm not even going to try to pronounce names because I know I'm going to get them so wrong. But they seem to be the quickest so far. And Tom, the production, and obviously probably everyone knows him by now by organising all of this as well, did say there is, I think it's quite a staged, I guess you could say, like competitivity in terms of these cars right now, because it does seem from last round he mentioned that with a custom setup, a car, I'm not sure which one it was able to get like 1.6 seconds quicker or something ridiculous like that. And it does just show you how much a setup does matter around circuits like this and such a competitive field.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where, for people who don't necessarily know, we've got teams involved as well with some of these drivers, haven't we, where they know how to set these cars up. And, you know, a driver might know what to do, but there are some where they don't. And there can be some sort of expert involvement in this. And that, I have to be honest, Aces, I don't know about you, that's beyond me. I don't get that side of thing. I just get in the car and drive.
I love making setups. It's usually because I like to pretend I'm not as washed as I am. I do know quite a bit about setups, but I wouldn't say I'm good at it, and I definitely I'm still kind of learning to walk on setups, you could say.
Well, fair shout on that one. I mean, it's an interesting point. So the top four cars are all Gorgia Ascents, if it's the red and white by the looks of it. So top four of those. Then it's the Fortix Mando. I have to be very careful because they are, of course, a renaming of the actual words because we're not supposed to say them. We're looking there at, or we were, there's a Mando, read into it what you will. We were looking at a Vorax Vector, and I think I did inadvertently fall into naming what they were in the championships of old, but we need to make sure we're not copying them. And it does mean top four, therefore, as I say, is the Ascent. The next four is the Mando. But I get the impression, Aces, that we'll get a variation on things with how they use their tyres, how they use their fuel, when they're going to pit. And so although we might have on this, they're on the softs, they're going for the flat out one good lap, it won't necessarily be exactly that when we get to the full 23 lap race.
I completely forgot about that pit stop. It's definitely going to throw a huge spanner in the works for the drivers here tonight. It does seem to be quite a varied fuel tank size here. The Ascent has a 65 litre tank, where the Mando has a 61. The 46 is 70, a Lagoon is 66, and the Vector is 50, averaging around 2.3 litres per lap around all of the cars. And the Vector is the only car which should need to add fuel, so that is a bit of a disadvantage for them.
Yeah, and I was trying to make sure that I was all over the rules that we had sent through to us, so we sound like we know what we're talking about. Pat out of the bag there. Is that they must change tyres or add at least 1 litre of fuel. Now, it's all very well saying that, but the expected maximum tyre life, even if you go on the hards, is only 18 laps. So surely no one's going to avoid changing tyres. It sounds to me like they've got no choice.
Yeah, exactly that. 3 laps is the minimum pit stop requirement, and then it is, I believe, all the way up to 18 laps. So it's probably the quickest to run the softs or the mediums. I don't
Yeah.
see any sort of advantage on running the hards.
For me, it's the softs. If we're saying 12 laps, well, that means that they should, depending on what their own personal tyre use is like, be able to, split it. And, in fairness, we've got to remember that at Donington Park, we were caught out by the fact that there was somebody, I think there was 2 or 3 that ran the whole race on softs, and we weren't expecting that. So they possibly have managed to be a bit gentler on this. So I reckon we'll go softs across the board, tyre changes at their pit stop. And I don't really know about the refueling, whether they're going to take on fuel as well. What did it say about the fuel? Yeah, I haven't done the maths to work out whether they're going to need to refuel or not, really.
It does seem the Vector needs to refuel because it
Is it?
obviously has quite a short tank of only 50 liters. Everyone else should be fine, roughly, but I think everyone needs to add fuel anyway, at least 1 liter. So you might as well split the tank 50-50 to just, again, try to accelerate as much as you can, keep your car as light as possible at all times. But those soft tires are probably going to be the ones that most people will select for tonight's races. You can already see in the qualifying stages, which you would expect most people to be running the soft tires during qualifying, as it's obviously the fastest compounds, but obviously the mediums still quite durable, but also quite quick at the same time. So it will be interesting because of obviously how flat this circuit actually is. It's going to be a lot more tire reliant compared to other tracks that might be on this calendar.
Yeah, it's interesting because we do have 2 cars out there at the moment on mediums. Tom's just let me know as well that tyres and fuel can be changed at the same time. So when changing tyres, fuel is also being put in. And that's a valid point because I'm used to when I'm commentating on GT racing in the real world or anything that involves refueling, invariably the driver's got to get out, then they refuel, and only certain numbers can touch the cars. And then once they finish that, then they can do the tyres, and then the driver can get back in again. We don't have any of that stuff, do we? It's the joys of this sim racing is we don't have to worry about health and safety.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should pretend we have to worry about health and safety, but no, we're safe, we're okay. At the moment, then it is Williams at the top, 209.758. Then it is out of the Taylors, we've got Nick Taylor that's at the front at the moment. So, or Nicky Taylor, I think I should say. Jordan Taylor in second place. Then it is Henriksen. Now I'm trying to remind myself the championship standings. Henriksen's doing well there because he's 5th in the standings, so he's actually a step higher at the moment, which means Felvers. Where's Felvers? Felvers isn't out there.
Yeah, I can't see him on the boards.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. He's just confirmed. So that's an interesting one. So 4th in the standings, Carl Felvers is not here. Interestingly, we thought we'd lost Thomas Potter and Catherine Potter because the internet in their area was down. But thank goodness that's come back on again, and they have snuck out. But what about commitment there, Ace? Is that they've assuming that they couldn't get on, but they've sat clearly ready, hoping, keeping everything crossed that the 50p was put in the meter for the internet in the area. It was, and they're straight back in and getting themselves up to speed.
It's a big advantage for them now that they're actually in the server, because obviously it's so unfortunate when stuff like that happens, and it actually happens quite frequently. Unfortunately, power outages, Wi-Fi outages, again, hardware issues as well. But Catherine Potter being in 11th in the championship, and her brother, in P9 in the championship as well. So they are pretty well off in the championship so far, and I reckon we might be able to see them slide up a tiny bit more throughout these rounds, but I don't want to obviously commentators curse them at all.
No, don't do that. I get in trouble for that all the time. Thanks to Tom. He's actually put a wicked comment that Felvers, I mentioned that Carl Felvers, who's 4th in the standings, not here, did his first kart round in the real world at the weekend, so might be travelling back from that, and apparently he did very well. So well done, Carl. That is fantastic news to hear. Just gutted it means that we miss out on him being here at the moment, but we've still got a healthy 19 car grid. It's still Williams from Nicky Taylor, Jordan Taylor, Henriksen in 4th. Then it's the first of the Mandos, and that is Joel Lask, who sits 6th in the championship, 5th on the road. We're on board with Thomas Potter at the moment. Sintler in 6th. In 7th is the number 69 car of Brad Smith. Number 16, Hayden Gray in 8th. 9th is the number 12 car of Harley Connolly. And then rounding out the top 10 at the moment, and that is, which one, what make is that? That's the Lagoon. He's the first. No, I'm looking at the wrong one. What is he? What? Forax. Yes. Forax Vectra, silver and black, apparently that is. I couldn't tell white from silver. I'm getting old, clearly. But Crudson in 10th place. Don't comment, Aces. Let that one go.
I was going to say that I'm getting old as well.
But it is the first of the Vorax Vectors there in 10th position, so he's going well. But you have to say at the moment is the front two in particular are just romping away. And I have to say, Nicky Taylor's doing well to be only 0.146 behind Williams at the moment.
It is quite ecstatic to see that they've been able to find a second over P3 there. But obviously that does mean, well, it doesn't mean they're initially going to win this race, as we do actually see Crudson just cutting the entire of Maggotts and Beckett's there. That's exactly what I would do to gain time. But both of these drivers seem to be, again, you could say probably the favours to win for tonight. Again, not trying to jinx them at all. But it's so unpredictable. Everything in real life racing, especially touring cars, is what I found out quite a bit recently with doing our Factor 2 stuff. It's just so unpredictable and they can be so close, and that's what I absolutely love about touring car racing, is just how close the racing can be and how unpredictable it could be as well, because that pit stop is going to throw a huge spanner in the works, and you can get penalties as well. We have to remember is just from speeding in the pit lanes or not doing your pit stop correctly, so anything can happen.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I hadn't clocked that they can actually speed in the pits. We don't want that. And certainly they need to make sure they pit in the window. But it's a big window between laps 3 and 18. And if you make that mistake, then crikey, definitely have a word. It's not good, is it? I have to say as well, Alex, that the job they've done on the liveries are fabulous. I mean, looking at Catherine Potter's car there, and that's one of many that are just so good, aren't they?
They're all brilliant, and they're quite iconic looking. They look quite retro, so it does fit the themes of the 90s and 80s touring cars, like what you see there. That's I think it's chrome. I can't really see. I think my eyes are going pretty bad already.
I'd agree with that.
But yeah, it seems chrome. But the color scheme as well. Usually those colors won't match, but whoever did that livery, which I'm starting to point at eyes and Tom, I'm not sure if that's true, if he did the livery, but did an absolutely beautiful job on it, if he did.
Catherine did it herself. Yeah, and it is absolutely wonderful. It's quite bordering on trippy, but absolutely wicked mix of them. And I agree, it does have a chrome look. I love as well Peter Cornelius just behind, which is a big nod to the mighty Orange Army, the Marshals, which whenever I'm commentating around the country, I always give a massive shout out to them. And I just love that car. Giving a shout out. Oh, Tom's taking the credit for that one though. But you look at that now, we get the close up. You see, it is the British Marshals Association, and without the Orange Army, we don't get to go racing at all. And they're out there in all the weather, no matter what. And that one definitely is chrome at the back.
Not so chrome at the front though, but
no, matte orange and chrome silver.
I'm going to give you the entire race for this one, but I did the same thing to another fellow motorsport commentator, Chris Buxton, where I asked him most rounds, and there's been 7 rounds so far because everyone's livery's changed quite frequently, what their favourite livery would be through the race. So just keep your eye on that one, just preparing you compared to what I did to Buxton.
That's fine. Yeah, Julie, that's quite difficult. I mean, especially the two that are in there are very difficult. I think maybe emotionally I'm connecting to that one there because of the affinity I have to the Mighty Marshals. But yeah, it's good. We're down to the last nearly 15 seconds now, and Williams has actually stretched his lead to just fractionally over a quarter of a second now over Nicky Taylor. Jordan Taylor still sat there in third, but as we said earlier, that's over a second back off of our pole sitter. Henriksen is there. Well, who just moved up there? Connolly just moved up to 9th ahead of Crudson. So that was a bit of a change. And all those that are still flying now are on the softs. And the time is now done. And they'll be allowed to, as far as I'm aware, finish the lap that they're on. And then they will be over. Nicky Taylor in second's already taken the checkered flag, so there's no right to reply there. So Nathan Williams is going to definitely be ahead of Nicky, which makes you suspect that that could be the limit. It looked a bit of damage on the front of Brad Smith. Did I see that right?
I think you might have, as we did see a stranded car there, but I believe I've noticed as well, Nathan Williams has actually been able to shave another 10th off his time, making it 2.5 tenths between P1 and P2 now. So brilliant job from him there with a 209.6. But now Jordan Taylor coming across the line as well. Will he be able to prove it all? No, he is not, I believe. It looks like he actually did, but how much was he going to be able to improve? 9 tenths there between him and P1 there. So brilliant time there from himself.
Yeah, it was a good improvement at the end. All 3 sectors were an improvement on his personal best, but obviously the fact that it was greens instead of purples means that he wasn't able to go quicker than Nathan, but he certainly has reduced that to less than a second as it stands at the moment. So we just got a few more. Luke Sintler coming through in 6th place at the moment. Did do a green sector 1. Sector 2 was not quite so good, and that was not an improvement there. So stays in 6th position, nearly 2.5 seconds down from our pole sitter. So just a handful still yet to go. Peter Cornelius in the Marshall's livery car. Where is he at the moment? He's in 11th position, and he's not going to improve this time round by the looks of it. And I think he knows it. Is he heading to the pits? Yep. He decides that that is enough. Harry Dios. Harry is in 14th position at the moment. Well, great sound to that car as it went through then. But again, deciding to head into the pits. I'm not sure who that is that's abandoned their car on the side of the circuit there. Why would they do that? Will Crudson.
Looks like every day on the M4.
Well, there is that. I'm not sure how accurate that was, though. It got a purple sector 1 by 2.7 seconds. I'm not so sure that that would have been the case, but there we go. So that's the end of the qualifying session, and it is Nathan that bangs it on top again. Nathan Williams leads the championship, and he's on pole position, and I believe that he's joined us now. Nathan, greetings, good evening to you again, sir. Picked up where you left off by the looks of it.
Yeah, that's very good qualifying. Obviously, Nicky was a lot closer than last week, so there's a bit more tense. But obviously, I'm still very happy to have pole.
It was, wasn't it? Well, about 1/4 of a second off. And I mean, you did stretch that slightly at the end there, which was good to see. But it is a lot more breathing down the neck. And in fairness, even Jordan Taylor got under a second behind you with his last lap. It means 23 laps is a reasonable length. You're not going to be able to rest at all, are you?
No, it's going to be very close. The slipstream's very effective around here. So I'm guessing Nicky's going to just stick to the back of me. Especially with pit stops, it also opens up a lot more to happen, and it makes it a lot more unpredictable.
True, I'd forgotten about the slipstream effect. That'll be interesting. Talking about pit stops, I know you're not going to give too much away, so I'll ask more. Do you go into this knowing exactly what you're going to do, or is there a degree of seeing how the tyres are before you make a decision when to go in?
Well, obviously, I think you have an idea of what you're going to do, an idea of what the tyres will do. But there's so many variables as well, because it's not worth pitting right behind somebody if you know they're going to hold you up. And then also it's worth people around you. If you can get the undercut on somebody, it's worth quite a lot around here due to the tyres. So it might be worth pitting a lap early and just suffering at the end, but taking track position.
Yeah, and I mean, it does. I think you even alluded to this when we interviewed you at Donington. Is it does suggest that softs is the way to go because you're probably able to do at least half a race on the quicker softs, aren't you?
I still think hards is the way. I think just the softs die so quickly.
Oh, really?
The second lap you could do one hot lap, and then your second lap your tyres went about halfway round, and you're really suffering. So you didn't get many laps in qualifying. I feel hards is definitely the way to go in the race.
Oh. Now, I'm wondering whether you're just trying to stitch people up by telling me that, but I'll be interested to know because I thought that we could get about a dozen laps out of the soft. So it means that there's a lot to play for, isn't there? So we're about to go to the grid. So thank you very much for joining us, Nathan, and the best of luck.
Thank you.
So off goes Nathan back to the grid. I could have carried on asking questions there, Alex, about all sorts more, but I think we better let him get focused, don't we, really?
I'm quite suspicious because the soft tires.
Yes.
I feel like that's probably a tiny bit incorrect. It depends, obviously, on how hot the track actually is, which I'm not actually sure how hot it is tonight's race, but it's either relatively cold or relatively hot if the tires are degrading that fast. But I'm going to assume most people are going to be on those medium tires, actually, now thinking of it, because going on to the first lap or two, where everyone's so densely packed together, it is going to be quite aggressive on the tires, and those soft tires will probably degrade quite a bit significantly, well, quite a bit more than what they would do just being isolated.
Yeah, and I mean, even Tom's sort of making a comment that the tyre data that we had is based on them not sliding, not pushing too hard. And so, yeah, okay, it was the softs were good for qualifying, but because they're going to be pushing them hard, they're going to be sliding around, is that actually they won't last the 12 laps that we believed. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go. So here we go with the first the grid walk here on the Silverstone GP circuit. Nathan Williams and Nicky Taylor on that staggered front row. Onto into third position, we've then got Jordan Taylor and a 42 car of Henriksen you see next to him there in the sort of dark gun grey almost, and day glow yellow flashes on that one. Then we've got Lask up into fifth place in car number 8 with Sintler's 72 car in almost the iconic livery on that I got to make sure I don't say the right name, the Mando. The 69 car of Brad Smith and grey number 16 on row 4. The fifth row, it's going to be Conley in the number 12 car and 17 at Cruton, just tucked behind him. Then we get Cornelius in the number 22 with that wonderful Marshall homage. And alongside him will be the first of the Potters, and that's Thomas Potter, car number 38. Another one that's gone chrome by the looks of it as well. Milner, number 43. Not a livery particularly on that one just yet. And car number 63, Harry Dios. Then we've got Catherine Potter in that psychedelic mix of colours with the chrome effect as well. And Jake Wardle, car number 3. He was at Brands Hatch on the weekend where I was commentating as well. Then it's Dean and Tugby in 17th and 18th position. And then Stokes is the last actual racing car because it's obviously one of the production cars that's at the back there. How cool does that Ginetta look? Fair play. In black, the safety car looks mean. So, a bumper grid there, Alex. Who's your money on?
It's going to have to be Nathan Williams, right? Just how great his qualifying went, and obviously what it looked like and sounded like his Donington went pretty well for him as well. So I've got my money on Nathan Williams. Which is probably quite an obvious guess, but I think Nicky Taylor definitely has quite a big chance in this as well. But again, it's just so unpredictable.
Yeah, it was interesting that he clocked on to the fact that Nicky was an awful lot closer than he experienced at Donington Park. So we'll wait and see. So we're going to be getting this race underway very, very soon. And the anxiety, the tension, the adrenaline, everything else will be really moving, and hopefully they're just wiggling those free glove clad hands on the steering wheel. Do you race as well then, Aces?
Real life or sim racing?
Sim racing.
So I do race quite a bit, and I've got a rig that I've spent too much to be scared of, and I don't actually use it as much as I would like to, but yeah, I do race quite a bit.
Well, in which case, that's great, because my question is, what's the feelings going to be right now? They're sat on the grid, they're ready to go, the countdown is on.
Well, for Nathan, looking at nothing practically, just scenery, I reckon he's probably going to be quite calm, and people that probably I'm going to say the top 5, who are going to be the more experienced drivers. I know that sounds a bit broad because it's quite a difficult car to handle in general, but I think they're going to be feeling quite a bit better than I hate saying incompetent drivers because they're not incompetent at all, but people who are less confident in these cars, probably at the back of the grid will be feeling a bit more tense. But again, it's just to have fun at the end of the day, and there is prizes on the line, which again, that's just a bonus if you win it or become, I think it's up to P3 in the championship. So it's just brilliant fun at the end of the day.
Well, we've got notification that those on mediums are grey, both the Potters, Dean and Tugby. All others are on hard. So Nathan Williams wasn't teasing us. He is legitimate. So it does look like, I mean, the consensus someone else has fed us is hard to hards or a risky medium to hard. So it's interesting. They intend to be pushing these tyres hard. You can hear the engine notes blipping in the background. They're getting impatient. They want this race underway. Up go the engine notes because the lights are going up. 4, 5, 6 lights are on. Long hold on the reds. Off go the lights and off go the field. And Nathan Williams puts that bad start behind him that he had in race 2 at Donington. Great move through from Lask. He's already getting himself up to certainly 4th, trying for 3rd, round the outside of the 42 car at that stage. And he's done it, just jittering about. But it is Nicky Taylor that's in the lead. I thought that Nathan Williams had done enough off of the start there, but it looks like he didn't. And it's Nicky Taylor into the lead. Nathan Williams in 2nd, but he's already trying to have a little nibble. And in 3rd place is the great start in there for the number 8 car of Lask. He'll be pleased with that one. And then it is Henriksen 42 leading the rest of the pack. And down the Wellington Straight that we go for the first time. And already we've got back into the lead is Nathan Williams. It didn't take him long there, did it, Alex?
It didn't, but the contestant for the lead is not over just yet. Nicky Taylor trying to retaliate as much as he can, going on to the first half of this lap. Now we do see everyone starting to become a tiny bit more calm now. No one's doing as aggressive moves as we saw going off the line there, but we do see Nicky Taylor is starting to lose a tiny bit of time. It is 7/10 now, but in cars like this, the slipstream is going to be so crucial here. But going back down into Woodcote now, we do actually see what is going to be, I think it's Dean there, just trying to go for the outside line, going into Corpse. It isn't going to work for him just yet. All of these 3 cars actually just battling quite hard so far. Jake Wardle unfortunately losing that position to Tugby. Now Tugby going up into P17, Wardle in 18th, Dean in 19th.
Yeah, you can see them all kicking up the bits of dust there. Or somebody's off in the background there and they've hit the barrier, so that's going to be some reasonable damage for whichever of the cars that is. And it's Mark Stokes, you just saw as he was trying to keep the power on through the Maggots and Beckett section, and it just sent him to the circuit furniture rather rapidly. Whereas out front, Nathan Williams, he has now not only got himself in the lead, he's nearly got himself a 2nd margin, but there's no margin here at the moment. The 42 car has been passed by Jordan Taylor. So Jordan didn't get the start that he wanted, but he's had a great move there, lunging down as he got towards Club and gets the move nicely done. So up into 4th place he goes. The frustration that he's going to have, Alex, though, is that by the time he's worked there, he can see a big gap ahead of him before the next car.
100%. Jordan Taylor trying to go on a bit of a redemption arc now. You could see going up to P4, as you just mentioned, that 1.3 second gap could close quite quickly though, because obviously the gaps are starting to close between the top 3. So the more they battle, the more time they lose. But going back on to Stokes, who unfortunately had that incident going into Maggots and Beckett on the first lap, going to be the worst type of race to actually crash, because obviously he would have been able to do his pit stop with his damage, but obviously he's not going to be on lap 3 yet, so it's not going to actually count to his pit counter anyway. So he's just going to lose even more time because you need to get that damage fixed. It was just awful looking at it.
It was, wasn't it? It looked like he went straight on into the barrier, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Any pit stop outside the window is just additional, but I don't think he had a choice. Great challenge there coming from the 63 car of Harry Dias, all over the back of Cornelius, the Marshall's livery. Just ahead of them is Catherine Potter. But yeah, Dios was definitely trying to find a gap that he could go for. And they go down the old pit straight there in towards Copse Corner. Riding on board with Jordan. Is this Jordan Taylor that we're riding on? Well, he has. Yeah. You said that he was going to reel him in quickly. I didn't expect it quite as quick as that. Did you?
No. I kind of thought I thought he was in the background. I thought we were on the wrong car for a second. But Jordan Taylor being able to grab what was a 1.5 seconds, I believe, originally. Now just 2 sectors later, now all over the rear end of Lask there as we do go into Stone. Now he goes for the inside line, which is going to be the beneficial route for him as he gets the move done, but it's like got to be retaliation there from Lask in the number 8. God, it doesn't seem he's going to be able to go just yet. It looks like Jordan Taylor's going to go defensive going into the first part of Vale, but doesn't seem there's going to be any sort of brake checking here from Lask. They're going to have a tiny bit of contact there between each other, but it does seem to have settled down now a bit more civil than it was. Nathan Williams going up into P3 here. Wait, not Nathan Williams, sorry, Jordan Taylor.
I knew you meant, mate. To be honest, that was the reason why you said that is because it had the fastest lap by Nathan Williams popped up on the thing, wasn't it? So, yeah, that was interesting because he knew that he was still vulnerable to Lask coming back at him, and so it was as he was going round club, he just dumped it on the apex, didn't he? So there was no gap for Lask to come back at him, and in fact, Lask is under huge pressure from Henriksen. So it is darned if you do, darned if you don't. And Albert Henriksen Bell is actually like a couple of points ahead in the championship. So this is the people that are sat 5th and 6th in the championship. We're about to go side by side. There we go. Is he going to go around the outside at Brooklyn? Surely not. Is he going to have the inside line when we get to the right-hander of Luffield? No, it's not possible there. So they're just staying line astern as they go on to through Woodcote and onto the old pit straight. And I'm just super impressed by Jordan Taylor that he just got his head down and he whittled down that gap incredibly quick. And you'll see he's pulled away in 3rd place from these two that are having their own battle. But it's going to be a big ask for him to get any higher than that 3rd as it stands at the moment. But we've got a pit stop to throw in the mix, haven't we, as well?
Exactly. Pit window has just opened this lap, so we will start seeing some people pitting in the next 2 or 3 laps, but most of the people will probably be pitting at the 12th lap or 11th lap mark just to try to split it 50-50. But what you were saying with Jordan Taylor there, I reckon he might be able to go higher. We have seen him on fire so far. He was able to shave what was 1.5 seconds in the sheer part of maybe a minute and a half at tops there, so he might be able to actually do better than what position he currently is in. But Nicky Taylor and Nathan Williams both presenting brilliant times in qualification will present a bit of a challenge there for Jordan Taylor, but we do see that's going to be Hendrickson just breaking a tiny bit later going into Vale onto Lask there. Lask probably panicking a tiny bit there because there was almost contact between the 2 drivers, but going back onto the start finish straight once again to enter onto lap 4. Do you see the slipstream is so effective here? He goes for the inside line going to Vale. No, he is just going to just keep it off a tiny bit there. Probably going to be the smarter idea indeed there, but he's just going to have to lose a tiny bit of time, sacrifice it to just keep his car in one shape.
Well, now we're getting into a couple of tight handers. The right-hander of Village, the left-hander of the Loop, and he's trying to find a way. He wasn't able to launch, and in fact, he's the one that's under pressure now from Sintler, the 72 car, just behind him, and now that means he's had to go defensive, and you see what's happened. That's enabled Lask to pull away. I thought that he was going to try and get the catapult down the Wellington straight, but it was not option there. But as it stands at the moment, I think he's just fended off the challenge from Sintler behind it, although a big lock up there from the blue and white 72 car as he got down to that section. But if he could just keep his powder dry, he'll be able to pull away, I think, judging from the lap times. But it's going to be a big ask to reel in Lask. That's what he's got to do, though. And those two are having a great fight, hence they're right next to each other in the championship standings. And I'm just waiting to see. In fairness, they're not dropping Sintler, so the 72 car is sit there. Sintler, who's actually 7th in the championship, so it is Henriksen, Lask and Sintler, 5th, 6th, 7th in the championship standings. Well, at the moment, they're running 4th, 5th, 6th, line astern from each other as well.
Starting...
Sorry, go on, mate.
What I was going to say, it's starting to look a tiny bit... I guess you could say uneven in terms of the car's balance of performance here, because we can see the red car of what is the Ascent is quite powerful around this track, as the top 3 are all 3 of them are going to be the Ascent car. It doesn't seem any of the other cars are really going to be able to have much of a chance of actually potentially getting a podium there. That's obviously something Bob could change a tiny bit, but obviously every track will have a different aspect on different cars.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm still wondering whether we're going to see any difference when we've got the tyre degradation, the fuel usage, all of those kind of things. I mean, we're still early days at the moment in this 23 lap race. The pit window is definitely open because we've now done 4 laps. It's been open for a lap already. Unsurprisingly, no one's going in just yet. I mean, the interesting thing will be, Alex, that we don't quite know what they're going to do. I think we've heard you suggested it, and we've heard reports that says you don't really want to go in if someone else is about to go in because they can hold you up in that pit stop. So you've got to really judge when you go in. Right? It's not a simple one. Let's go halfway through the race.
I feel like there's going to be quite a bit of traffic going into the halfway point of the race because that is where most people are going to pit, as you just said, which is going to be a tiny bit of a disadvantage to cars there. But we see huge accident there. That's going to be Brad Smith and Hayden Gray both going into the wall at high speeds there. Hayden Gray getting off quite a bit worse there. That's going to be quite a bit of damage to the front of Hayden Gray's car going into what was going to be left field there. Not really sure what happened between the two. It didn't seem very civil, though, to say the least. But I think the stewards are going to have a bit of an inquiry later.
I think they're going to be busy with that one, aren't they? But the good news is it's above our pay grade, mate, so we don't have to get involved.
Exactly.
Now, it does look like it has caused a huge problem for Hayden Gray, not just the damage to the front there, but we'll see whether he's able to get going. It was interesting to see that, and he's still there, is that Sintler in that blue and white 72 car, still all over the back of the 42 car of Henriksen. And he keeps having a nibble, but not quite able to make it stick. So it's some great defensive driving from Henriksen as it stands at the moment. Down to Stowe we go, and he hasn't launched it up the inside there. So he's trying to take the speed through Stowe, down through the Vale and in towards the club. Right on board now, because this could be a position where he has a lunge. Not at the moment. Trying to carry it through club onto the Hamilton straight, as it of course is known. So he's got a good exit there, but heading up towards the flat out Abbey, it's not really a place to make a move. Surely, no. I was going to say he thought about it, but I don't think he thought about it. It just nearly was thrust upon him for a second, but he sits there with it back under his control. But I notice, Alex, that it's not enabling the number 8 car of Last to actually get away from these guys, despite them fighting with each other.
It does seem that, and I'm kind of wondering if Sintler's been a tiny bit cheeky here and staying behind intentionally so that we see Hendrickson using a lot more of his tyre aggressively, because he's obviously having to defend quite aggressively to keep his position of P5. And doing that is quite good strategy when it comes to a race like this, because obviously the tyres degrade so quickly, even the mediums and the hards, for example, which both of these cars are on. And I'm starting to think he's doing this intentionally to try and degrade Hendrickson's tyres. As Lask isn't actually pulling away, as you just mentioned, so Luke isn't actually having any intentions of actually trying to attack here at all. So it's quite smart if you think about it, if Sintler's actually intending to do this. But now looking at it, he's trying to get by going into Michael Beckett's, but it's suspicious. It's very suspicious.
Yeah, could be. Of course, us as commentators, we always overanalyze things anyway, don't we? But always having a nibble up the inside, a sneaky snifter, throws it up the inside as he gets through Beckett's, now the left-hander of Chapel, and he's still not quite been able to do it. I thought he'd got himself far enough alongside there, but it wasn't possible. What about as we go down the hanger straight in towards Stowe? He's certainly looking towards the inside. He's definitely going to go for it this time. Has he got enough speed to carry him through the shallower line of taking the inside? Not really, but he's done well to sort of stay alongside as they throw the anchors out the back for the left-hander heading into club. It's just a funnel through there, so it's not really possible to go side by side, but he tries to get the noise pedal down as quickly as he possibly can as we go onto the Hamilton straight to complete, what's that? That's completing 6 laps now of this 23-lap race. Again, he's got a good run, but there's not really the space at the end of the Hamilton straight because Abbey's such a fast corner. There is no real braking zone to launch it up the inside, so he's compromised, but he is going into Village, the left-hander, and he's got it done. Fair shout. That took him a long time to do, but he has got it done.
It does seem, but there is a tiny bit of what we could see, a bit of retaliation here from Hendrickson as he's trying to find a way to get back once again. As we do see Lask has started to pull a tiny bit of a gap, but still not as much as you would expect from a bar there. But that's going to be Tugby, unfortunately, going off into what I believe is going to be the final corner there. So I'm assuming he's just broke it a tiny bit late or took the sausage curb wrong.
I think he was hit
two.
by Alfie Dean, actually. It flashed up that there was contact between the two, so that'd be something else to be looked at then.
Oh,
yeah.
Again, we don't have to do the stewards' work. So.
Exactly. We're clean. We just get to sit back and enjoy it, so it's all good. Well, Henriksen's...
criticize people.
Well, exactly. Yeah, we have to be careful about that. I tell you, they hear you. I'm telling you now. But Henriksen dropping down to 6th, but he's not dropping away. Look, he's come out of the Copse corner, heading towards this very, very quick Maggots-Beckett section, and he's still certainly on him. And Lask trying desperately to move away from them. I was also thinking, you know, we're wondering whether there's some shenanigans going on with trying to force others to burn their tyres out quicker. I reckon that Nathan Williams, I think he's going to come in quite early from that lead. Here he is, comfortably in the lead, look, about to go on to the Hamilton straight again. I reckon he's going to come in earlier than half race distance because he's had to work his tyres hard to get into the lead again and to stretch that lead. If he's got that margin, he can safely go for an undercut and then just be gentler on his tyres for the remainder of the race.
You've got a pretty decent shout there, actually. I didn't think about that. Again, fuel as well. He might have taken a quarter of a tank, maybe, to actually start the race on the lighter aspect, to actually pull away, which he has successfully done. There's 3 seconds now between Williams and Taylor. So if that's the issue, that he's done quarter of a tank, he has to come in earlier. Otherwise, he's just going to, again, stop like what we've seen with Gray earlier. But that did seem to be an ignition issue earlier, so that's why he is, unfortunately, I believe he's still stationary on the track into, I believe that's going into Luffield. Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, still there, so I'm just not sure what's going to happen with him. It does seem to be race over for him. No, I don't think he's going to be able to get 2 laps that easily back. But going back on board now with Connolly. Currently in P10, this is where most drivers would aim to want to be in the top 10. But we do see, again, Catherine Potter in that very easily recognisable livery. Actually gaining quite a bit of time now on Connolly, as well as we can see as well Cornelius in P12 just behind her as well. So a bit of pressure for her to withstand while trying to attack and try to gain time onto Connolly there.
Now, interestingly, although I'm not sure whether it shows us that it's happened on the timing screen, but it does suggest on the text update that Sam Milner actually pitted on lap 6. So I don't know whether that I'm interpreting the timing screen correct there. Let me just have a look further down. It doesn't say that he has. But certainly in the text box it suggested that he went in on lap 6, but I think that's probably just teasing us, and that I can trust the timing screens more than that, because I don't think anybody has actually thrown the dice yet. Tom makes a good comment actually to counter my suggestion with Williams, that it might be that if he does that though, he will come out of the pits in traffic, and that he will lose any potential benefits of that sort of early stop, the undercut.
Yeah, now thinking of that, it's probably the least efficient way of doing your pit stop. Again, going into the pits though, it's going to be quite unlikely that every driver goes in on the same lap, and if that does happen, that's going to be chaotic, obviously. But speeding into the pit lane shouldn't be an issue, because obviously approaching into the pit lane, you have that very, very sharp right-hander that you can just see on the left-hand side of your screen there. It's just such a tight corner as well, and you will be risking damage if you're trying to do that. God knows what's these.
Yeah, true. It's running a bit wide there for Harley Connolly, the 10th place car. Oh, and he's still like trying to get that tame like a bucking bronco as he got it back onto the tarmac, but I think he's got it pointing in a straight line. But you can see now that Catherine Potter just behind is an awful lot closer. and he's fallen away from Crutzen in the 17 car at the moment, but still sat there in the top 10 as it stands. And I think he's just got that tamed off and just got to put it behind him and not worry about it. Tom says pit speed limit line is midway between the start of the line and the sharp corner. So there you go. So it's fairly early then that they've got to get that sort of slowed down. I'm just intrigued by it. Exactly who's going to go in when. What have we got? 8 laps completed. Half race distance is 11 and a half laps in effect. So if anybody's going to go less than half race distance, it's going to be soon. Oh, Harley Connolly just ran a bit wide there. I don't know. Have you heard anything about track limits? How hot they are on track limits for this race?
I think it is just standard real penalty track limits. So I believe it's if all 4 goes off the white line is going to be a track cut, but I could be wrong about that. So don't quote me on that, but I believe it's not as strict as what I've seen in different series, but it's still probably quite strict. But again, that does just make it more intense and probably a tiny bit more risky, because I bet a few of these people have already got their first or so track cuts.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing, just watching a few there going a little bit deep into the corners. Mick Sutton from PASR, as he tells me I've got to say, has said that Connolly had his first real-world podium up in North Wales at Anglesey last weekend. So top job to Connolly. And what a circuit to do it at. Absolutely stunning circuit. It really is. The only problem is it takes forever to get there, but it is a stunning circuit to commentate on. There's not many. You can be stood in a commentary box watching wonderful motor racing and the sea and Mount Snowdonia in the distance. It's just epic views.
It's a brilliant place. I haven't been there because it takes 4.5 hours to get there, even though I live in Wales, which makes no sense.
It is a nightmare, it really is, but it's amazing. That said, as when I was commentating on a 24-hour race up there and I took my motorhome up and the wind and rain was horizontal, and so I felt seasick having a kip in my motorhome. It was not good, so well done, Connolly. That's a great place to do a podium.
Was that the Enduro KA by any chance?
No, it was the 2 CVs actually. The one and only time that they didn't do that at Snetterton. So that was an interesting weekend, that's for sure. Tom has updated me on my question about track limits. 2 tyres off track equals a cut. 2 cuts are free. On the 3rd, they get a 5-second time penalty. So there we go. It's been one of those things.
That's quite a subtle penalty, to be fair, for a track cut, because you have games like ACC that give you a full-on drive-through for track cuts. So that is, I don't want to say this because I'm not sure how much of a rule bender it is, but it could be a strategic plan to use that because it is quite a subtle penalty.
Yeah, and you can get away with it a few times. You just got to use it. And apparently, they've been very good so far. We've only got 3 drivers with 1 cut, so they're doing all right. One of them is Lask, that's sat there in 4th place. Imagine he stopped doing that. In fact, he's up to 3rd because into the pits has come Jordan Taylor. So we've got the first pit stop. Now that's an interesting roll of the dice. He had to work his way back through this field early stages. Did a great job to get back up to 3rd. But Jordan Taylor in the Graves Motorsport car heads back out of this wonderful pit lane. It's so odd reporting from that pit lane when the track's up above you, but it's so cool. Out he comes just behind the 38 car there of Potter. So it is Thomas Potter, but he's already trying to get back at him. Thomas Potter doesn't need to let him through, so he's going to defend as much as he wants to, but a great move there, Jordan Taylor. So that means he comes out after that jiggery-pokery. He's in 6th position with a clear track ahead of him.
Yeah, that is brilliant racing if I've ever seen it myself. Again, Jordan Taylor, risky move, but if he's executed it right, which it did seem he did, as he locks up a lot going into left field there, he might be able to gain places there, because he was originally in P3, I believe, before his pit stop. But obviously the others have to do that pit stop as well. With only a 13-second gap now between him and P5, it could be him potentially getting up to P2 if he's lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure because, in fairness, the class of the field in qualifying was Williams and Nicky Taylor in the 117 car, and I think he was about 3 or 4 seconds down on them. So I think he's going to be an awful lot closer, and it could get interesting the tail end when we'll have different levels of tire grip at the end. Just suddenly looking at the notes, so we've got all time penalties are added after the race. Taylor still has the 1 next to his name.
Nathan Williams has came into the pit as well.
There we go. So good spot. I was just looking down at my screen and I missed the race leader. So 11 laps, that's as near as half race distance as you can get it, really.
So we've been wrong about every theory so far, so this isn't great for us. Both the tyres and Nathan Williams coming in early, so this is a good start for us.
Yeah, well, but then again, to defend us for a second, is that he even said in his interview that you end up having to judge it based on who's coming in when and around you and all of that stuff. But he's come out just in front of the 72 car of Sintler. Sintler's in 4th, so he's out in 3rd place. Last, the number 8 car just ahead of him. I'm hoping we're not going to get an issue because we've had several pitted, but the only one that's showing as pitted is Nathan Williams. But hopefully the system will just work that out. The others have still got the number 1 next to them to sort of suggest that it's going to show that they will have pitted, but we'll leave that to the powers that be. But he's now fighting with Lask. Lask has got the inside line as they go round Luffield. But how much can he get on the pedal? And he's just bumping side on with Williams. Williams is taking a big risk here to get this done as soon as he possibly can to make sure he stays ahead of Nicky Taylor after Nicky's pit stop. But Lask is not letting this one go. He's going to have the inside at Copse Corner again. And Nathan Williams just does the old switcheroo, trying to go up the inside, but there wasn't the gap there. This is a cracking battle. Flashing his lights as well, look.
It's just trying to make it a tiny bit more difficult for himself as we go into Maggots Beckett's now. It does seem they're all still keeping it quite civil now, going in to Beckett's once again. This is usually where the drivers get the better exit speed, but he hasn't done it just yet.
I thought he got past him, but it was the wrong colour, wasn't it? I thought he was past him.
He has the slipstream now, so this is going to be perfect for Nathan Williams. He has the inside line as well going in to Stowe. It seems he doesn't even need it. It's an effortless overtake there, but there might be a tiny bit of retaliation here from Lask going into Stowe. It looks like he tried to go for the outside move there, didn't work from there, and it does seem Nathan Williams goes back into P2, trying to hunt for Nicky Taylor in front.
Yeah, that was that took a good while. So that was some fabulous defending by Lask. Now Lask has decided to go in the pits now after that one, so he defended anyway. Although no, it hasn't. It's just suddenly put him back up. So it thought that he was going into the pits. Now it has got him going into the pits. I think it just as it's got that gets close to the circuit. So Lask is in. So. And Taylor's in as well. Nicky Taylor had been in. I missed that. He'd gone into the pits as well. Oh no, Thomas Potter's stopped. I don't know whether that was a contact that had happened there, but Thomas Potter has stopped out on the circuit. I hope that's not lost the internet again up in their vicinity. No, still trying to get going. Oh, good. He's managed to get the car fired up again. That's at Copse, isn't it?
Yeah, Gray had the same issue, it seemed. I believe what Tom said was the igniter wasn't... I think he used his igniter button before the starter button or something like that, because obviously these cars use something quite different, which is quite unique now, but they have their own starter ignition button, which isn't actually integrated into AC here. But we do see Nicky Taylor going for the inside line, going into Woodcock. Quite a shallow corner, so it isn't going to provide much of an advantage for himself, but he goes into P2 there. Is there going to be retaliation there from Sintler going in to Corpse once again? Doesn't seem so, and just an effortless overtake there from Nicky Taylor.
Yeah, and that's again, those cars have been defending well when these lead drivers have come out of their pits. Stintler and Henriksen, are side by side after the battle with Nicky Taylor, but Stintler in the blue and white 72 just about holds on there, but great attempt by Henriksen in 42 for a little while, but Nicky Taylor had to fight really hard to get past then, and it means that the margin is back up to that 4 seconds, and I think Nicky Taylor was hoping he'd be near. A big lock-up again there from Williams. That suggests to me that Williams knows that he has to push hard right now, otherwise Taylor's going to be with him.
Does seem so. Again, it's quite concerning that only 2 people have set valid pit stops. I think Tom is stressing a tiny bit as well. But it could be quite funny if they've actually not done their pit stops correctly, because obviously you need to add that 1 litre of fuel for the pit stop to actually count. So maybe they haven't done that, but obviously the Vorax cars, the Vectors even, sorry, they need to pit for fuel. So that makes no sense.
No, it's, I mean, there's a bit of contact. Someone else was stopped there for a second. I think that was Stokes, and that's a very crumpled front end on that that car, isn't it? But I'm assuming that it doesn't mean that they've been in there, that there is no minimum or maximum time they have to spend, is there? They just have to change tyres or a litre of fuel.
That is true, and Tom's just said, once we surpass lap 18, we will either see a bunch of DSQs or no DSQs. So we will find out very shortly in just 4 laps time, if that is the case. But it does seem another car going into the pits is Cornelius, going down into P9, so far P10. Obviously going to drop quite a few positions because it will look a tiny bit demoralizing losing those positions, but you will gain it back on the cars that haven't pitted so far. Just 4 laps left of the pit window, so it's starting to shrink there, the opportunity, as we do see, it seems Catherine Potter doing a 2:16.0, which seems to be the fastest lap of the race so far.
Really? That's interesting. And fair shout then, if that's the case. Very impressive on that one then. Yeah, we're hoping that it's just a timing tower mistake and that we'll be A-okay, but we'll see. At the moment, they've just got, presumably they just ignore that, Alex, and just get on with things and race their own race.
Yeah, there's not much you can do, obviously, and you don't want to worry about it. But Brad Smith going for the inside line, going into Luffield, and Woodcock now gets the move done pretty nicely. They're just squeezing it, going through the inside line, going in to Luffield, going into Woodcock now. It does seem there's going to be a tiny bit of retaliation most probably, as we do see now Dios getting the slipstream, going outside of Corpse now. This is where the slipstream will be the strongest, but the dirty air will be present going in to Magnus Beckett, as we do see now Sintler going into the pits to serve his mandatory pit stop, along is Hendrickson Bell as well. So 2 cars going into the pits at the same time there.
Yeah, those two, of course, are tied together in the championship, and they're being tied together all this race. So it'll be an interesting sprint out of the pits for them. But Jordan Taylor up in that 3rd place, but you'll see that he's quite a long way down at the moment from Nicky Taylor and Nathan Williams in turn. I just wanted to listen to that noise. I do love the sound of these cars. They really do scream like the real thing. So fair shout on that one. Now, coming out of the pits, it looks like the number 8 car of Lask has held on to that the order over Henriksen. It was different when they went into the pits because they'll have pitted at different stages. But when they went in, Lask, I think from memory, was ahead of 42 Henriksen, and they've come out in exactly the same, but only half a second between them. So that's really impressive. We are getting some very quick lap times with people onto their new tyres at the moment. So, which I guess is to be expected. You're going to come out on that fresh rubber, but do you really want to be pushing that hard, Aces? You've got to be mindful, haven't you?
It is, and it seems there's quite a few people on the medium tyres as well, which you expect to be the faster compounded tyres, that we will, in results, see those faster lap times coming in compared to those hard tyres, obviously. But then again, they're going to burn out a lot quicker than those hard tyres. Obviously, there's only 7, 8 laps left to go. The maths is brilliant. But again, yeah, I don't think it's worth pushing your car to the absolute limits, because those tyres are just going to degrade so quickly there. As we can see, the gaps are starting to come down here, as we can see now Crudson trying to go on Catherine Potter here, going down into Luffield. Is he going to try and go for the lunge into the inside line? Yes, he is. Will he break later, though? Yes, he will. It does seem Catherine Potter kind of let it by. There's going to be a bit of a switch back. She's going to try and get the inside line, going through the last part of left field. Now, again, it does seem Nathan Williams go up. No, that's going to be Crewston, sorry. That keeps messing me up there. Crewston goes up into P9.
No, I don't blame you for that one. When it pops up, it just catches our attention, doesn't it? But yeah, that Vorex Vector, I thought he'd overshot the entrance into Brooklands at that point, but just managed to wrestle it back towards the tarmac and get enough of a line into and through Luffield onto the old pit straight that meant that managed to get it signed, sealed, and delivered, and stay ahead of Catherine Potter. But she defended brilliantly. Jake Wardle, good to see the number 3 car running. That's one of the other cars, isn't it? That's the Pajot 46. Again, taking a run up to make sure I don't get myself in any legal trouble with saying the wrong name for that one, but it's great to see it. And at the moment, where are we at? So 15 laps completed, 4.5 second lead for Nathan Williams over Nicky Taylor, 12 seconds back. Jordan Taylor is losing ground over Nicky Taylor from memory on that lap time at the moment, but is under no pressure from Jordan Lask. But Henriksen is still only less than 3/4 of a second behind Lask. So 4th and 5th is where the main battle is. But this is an interesting one. So Jake Wardle in 14th, trying to close in on Harry Dios in that blue and white car just ahead of him. Oh, Jake just goes a little bit wide through Stowe there, but manages to drag it back and needs to be careful because Alfie Dean's just behind him. Is that Alfie? Yes, it is Alfie just behind him. So that is very close between those three, running 13th, 14th and 15th. That's the beauty of this, isn't it? That you can get involved in a fight no matter where you are on this grid.
It is brilliant. Again, so unpredictable, as I always mention. But again, Jack Taylor is in quite an ideal situation from a performance perspective. He has no pressure at all whatsoever from last behind, 21 seconds between the two drivers there, separating P3 and 4. So the tyres, he should be fine in terms of it. He is on those hard tyres as well, which is going to add another level of durability for himself. Again, so there's no reason he should be pushing that. It does seem he is still gaining a tiny bit on what is going to be Nicky Taylor there, but we do see this could be Alfie Dean trying to again make a move there, going on to what is going to be Wardle. Wardle positioning his car quite controversially to say the least, but it did seem to work for himself. I guess it's going to be a steward's call, I reckon, from that.
Yeah, that was probably more than one move there, but that again, it might just be the glitching in the graphics, so it might not be, to be fair, doing quite that. But Alfie Dean, number 11 there, really applying the pressure. The pair of them both in the Pajot 46s, Jake Wardle in the green and black number 3 car, Alfie Dean in that wonderful sort of black with the red and green flashes on it, almost a sort of Castrol rally car style colour on that one in reality. And just watching them go through Maggotts, Beckett's and then in towards the sort of ever accelerating Chapel curve onto the Hangar straight, and it looked like that was initially a good run from Alfie Dean, but hasn't quite worked. But they're very equal, aren't they?
Yeah, it's quite unpredictable still. Again, I need to find like a thesaurus soon to try and find more words of the same meaning. But what Tom has just brought to my attention in chat as well is we are approaching now lap 18, which is obviously the cutoff point of where that pit window is going to be. And obviously the timing tower only represents 2 people have done their mandatory pit stop, and the rest are being deemed currently as not have done their mandatory pit stop. So that is going to be something to look out for as we approach onto lap 18 very, very shortly now. So that is going to be interesting to say the least. I hope it's going to be just a bug in the timing tower, because obviously that does happen. It's a modified thing. It's not like it's an official timing tower at all. It's made by the beautiful modding community of AC. But this stuff does happen, so hopefully it is going to be the bug more than the issue of the entire round itself. But Alfie Dean now in P15, just losing a tiny bit of time now to Wardle in P14. Now just 1.1 seconds between the two drivers now as we do approach onto lap 18 now. So it does seem to be settling down now as it stands, but we will find out very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was just typing at the same time then. And I've remembered that I'm a man, I can't multitask. Right, oh, look at this. We're back to this battle. So it is Henriksen Bell really still applying the pressure on the number 8 last car, and these two have they just can't leave each other alone. We're going to have to start rumours about these two. They're always together. It's just on Henriksen Bell looking up the inside there. A good lunge as they got into that really tight, the loop on towards, just constantly accelerating now onto the hangar, no, sorry, the Wellington straight. And it's look, you see that example of darned if you do, darned if you don't, because he went for that lunge, but look how much space he's now lost on him. Although he was very late on the brakes there, but I don't think that is necessarily the quickest. And I guess that's where you have to sort of keep your cool, don't you? And not get overly frustrated. If a move hasn't worked, you don't want to go barreling into them at the next corner.
Exactly. Just trying to not overdrive the car and overdrive yourself is just going to be so crucial here. Because first of all, you'll lose time by overdriving the car. Even though you would think you would actually gain time, but you just lose so much time, and you're going to lose more tyre performance than what you would have done if you just had more patience. But obviously, because we are running out of laps now, people will become more impatient. We will start seeing those optimistic moves like these lunges you were just mentioning. So it is going to probably become present for some of these closer battles like the one we're on right now for P4. Lask doing quite a great job though so far defending, but going on to what is going to be the largest straight, I believe, now going in just before Stowe. This is going to be a brilliant opportunity for Hendrickson to try and use his slipstream to his advantage. A tiny bit of weaving to break the toes. You can see here he goes for the outside line again, just trying to give him no room at all there. Still giving him the racing room though, so there's nothing wrong with it, just squeezing him a tiny bit to try and make it close racing there, and just again maybe knock a tiny bit of Hendrickson's confidence off. But it does look like the door is going to be open going into Vale, but he isn't going to take the opportunity. But there's going to be a tiny bit of a mistake there, unfortunately, from Lasky. Gets the inside line to try and again have a second chance of keeping his position here going into the final corner as well. So you're going to be side by side here. There's going to be a tiny bit of contact between the two. Hendrickson now just neck on neck with each other going across the line. This is again going to be another chance for what is going to be Lask, as he has the inside line going into Vale here, and he's able to maintain his position.
I have to say, these two are racing brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. Oh, and it's up the inside there as we get to Village. Now we've got the left-hander of the loop, and Lask is still holding on to it. I just cannot believe this relentless pressure he is taking, and he's just standing back up again like Rocky Balboa, not prepared to stay down, and it is absolutely epic. But I've got to say, Henriksen Bell is doing just as good a job, and has done all race as well. These two have been the highlight of the show for me. They just won't leave each other alone. And in the background, interestingly, Sintler, number 72, he's getting closer to them because they're fighting so hard.
It's brilliant to see such close racing this far into the race now, but we do see it's still not over between these two. It's still going to be the battle for P4. Lask doing a brilliant job so far from defending for this long. Here Hendrickson once again trying to redeem himself to try and get P4 again. Hopefully we do see again a repeat of history of this beautiful racing. As we see they go side by side here going into Margaret Beckett's. It's going to be risky here, not a corner that's really meant for overtaking. It's very tight. There's not many lines you could take through here. They both take it quite civil there, but I say that unfortunately both of them just go into each other there, and that's going to unfortunately be Lask being pit maneuvered, and that's going to be him going down to P6, and he stalled the car as well, so that's going to lose him even more time.
That is a real shame. And I mean, it was interesting because that was a good tight battle. I mean, you now have got Sintler is all over the back of Henriksen Bell, and I would hazard to guess that Henriksen Bell's not going to be chuffed with that one, because he was enjoying some great battle in there, and I think you can guess that now by where he's just got ragged. And Sintler's going to have a look up the inside. Yep, going to go up towards the inside, but Henriksen's going to have the inside line for Club. Nope, Sintler's got it done, and I think that you will find that Henriksen Bell is absolutely gutted with that one, because that was a very out-of-shape Stowe, Vale and Club for him, wasn't it? And I think that spirit's been shot by the mistake that happened through that section.
Yeah, I believe he might have started overdriving a bit there. He wanted that position, obviously trying to do it clean. It's just a no-brainer for every driver here. But unfortunately, when you start overdriving a bit, you're going to be more optimistic. You're going to give less room, and you're just going to start being a tiny bit more unpredictable with being this far into the race now. Just people are starting to get a bit impatient, as I was mentioning earlier, just wanting that move done quickly and efficiently. But obviously, it provides great racing, and I bet both of them were enjoying it. But sometimes it just happens like that, and it's just racing for you, and you can't really stop that from happening.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're allowed to get away with it, so we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But it looks like Henriksen Bell's just sort of shaking that off now, and he's back onto the rear of that 72 car of Sintler. Sintler, of course, sat in 4th position, so they're both just off the podium as it stands, because that's still Nathan Williams, Nicky Taylor, and Jordan Taylor taking out the top 3, and they're all sort of fairly spread out, those 3, but they're equally comfortable as well. But Sintler, 72, now took advantage of the shenanigans going on ahead of him up into 4th place. But Henriksen Bell thought he was going to have a little sneaky snifter as they got towards the scene of the crime from a lap ago. But it'd be interesting to keep an eye on Lask's lap times to see whether that number 8 car is able to come back. I feel devastated for Lask, because and I know I wasn't the only one, were really impressed with his driving thus far in this race.
I believe quite a few people behind the scenes have been saying some pretty good stuff about him as well. We also need to do the quite difficult task, as we do see now, just Nicky Taylor being able to redeem himself, getting P2 pretty easily there going into the curve. But we have to do that quite difficult thing. It's like, in your case, I'm not sure if you have children, but picking a favorite child, and that's driver of the round award.
Yeah, exactly. It will be challenging. That wasn't Nicky making the pass. That was Laffery going on. And fair shout to Jake Wardle is that he didn't make it totally easy, but he didn't make it unnecessarily hard as well. So Nicky Taylor was able to pick his way through and just sort of maintain that gap over Jordan Taylor. But look at this, Sintler still defending that 4th position, and Henriksen Bell. It's almost like, I don't know, maybe he gave up that 4th place to Sintler so that he could be the chaser rather than a chased. I doubt that's the case, but it's a romantic notion nonetheless. We're into the last 3 laps for our race lead. Where is Nathan Williams? He's just coming through Maggots and Beckett's at the moment. Here he comes, and that looks like just ahead of him is Harry Dios, will be his next back marker that he'll be getting past. And actually, it's interesting. Nicky Taylor, it's showing 5 seconds, but it's when they showed that overhead there, Aces, that he's not that far behind, is he? There you go, just coming under the bridge in the background we saw there.
Yeah, it's still a long way. 5 seconds is obviously a lot of time to make up. But because you're in quite a slow-moving car, I guess you could say, compared to like an F1 car, which is what I'm quite used to commentating in, it's going to look like the gap isn't as big as it would be for a high-speed car like this. Don't get me wrong, these cars still go absolutely rapid. I believe it is it 140, 150 mile an hour? Or am I making stuff up? I'm probably making stuff up. It's somewhere around that line still.
Can't remember. We did have at the beginning what they can do, didn't they? But I've forgotten what they said now. But
just going on to what is going to be the penultimate lap, though.
Oh, is it?
It does.
Good
I
one.
believe so, yeah.
Yeah, good spot. Well, you know, we don't know what the state of everybody's tyres are at this stage, do we? It could be some of them are just hanging on, but you would like to think, well, I was going to say, you'd like to think Nathan Williams is in control, but you actually picked up that after his pit stop, he was pushing incredibly hard, and you wonder whether he took out the reasonable amount of life out of his tyres. But with 4 3/4 second margin that occasionally drips up to 5 seconds, he's able to just manage it, isn't he? But Sintler in 4th is not able to take anything steady.
It does seem so. Lask as well is going to struggle a bit more now, because obviously the way he crashed caused his car to practically go quite uncontrollably into quite a violent spin, which is going to degrade his tires significantly and probably have quite big flat spots as well. So that is going to degrade his performance as well. But luckily, he is in quite a no man's land now. You can see he is just about 16 seconds in front and behind. But we do see, once again, Hendrickson still trying to leap to try and get P4 once again. It looks like he tried going for the inside line, but we do see Sintler just closing the door once again as we go into Luffield. Now, this is a very difficult corner to nail, but if you do nail, you can gain so many temps here. As you can see, it does seem Sintler did it quite nicely there and was able to open that gap up just a tiny bit more. Now, as we go on to the halfway stage of this lap, now as we go into Corpse, the highest speed corner, or one of the highest speed corners here at Silverstone, going to be testing the tires. Now going through this last parts of the race. Now this is where these next tires, especially the medium tires, are going to be feeling probably pretty ropey now, because obviously the medium tires are only expected to last about 14 laps, and again 11 and 11 laps is getting on the borderline of being quite difficult to control there. But Nathan Williams there in P1. Again, you can see P2 as well, just 4.9 seconds behind. It doesn't look like a big gap, but still 4.9 seconds that Nicky Taylor would have to try find in the next lap.
Yeah, at the moment, you've got to say he's just being managed now by Nathan Williams, and he is on to that final tour, and he's about to go. He will go firing up the Wellington Straight, but this battle's still raging, heading through the Vale in towards Club we go for the penultimate time. Oh, Henriksen Bell just shaking the tail on that car as he applies the brakes. Now he's got the good acceleration out of the corner. That was a good move there, up the inside onto the Hamilton Straight. Still a bit of bumping and boring on the exit there because the 72 car of Sintler has not completely gone away, but now we get to the funnel at the end of the Hamilton Straight into the flat out Abbey. That was never going to be on at that stage. So Henriksen did a brilliant move there, I've got to say, down through the Vale into Club, as it wasn't so much fully lunging up the inside, but getting enough speed through that corner to get the switchback and power on, heading back towards the straight. But Sintler's coming back at him again, isn't he?
This is brilliant racing once again. This is like the last fight all over again. Hopefully not with that crash as we go on to the final few corners. Now he's going to get that slipstream as he goes into Luffield once again for the final time. He's going to lunge into the corner. There's going to be a tiny bit of door rubbing between the two. Still going to be side by side, but we are going to see now what is going to be Hendrickson having the advantage of the inside line going in to Luffield, going into Woodcote now. Second half of this lap left to go, and we do see the slipstream is going to be quite effective here, practically on the rear of that car now, as we do see Sintler's going to try and gain as much as he can. This is where the optimistic and pretty much impatient moves are starting to appear, as this is starting to get quite messy, to say the least. Luckily no incident so far, but Nathan Williams approaches the final corner to take the win of round 2 here for the Pro SIMRIG Super Touring 2024 Sim Series here, followed then by Nicky Taylor in P2, and then Jordan Taylor, who has a bit of company there behind by one of the back markers, but Jordan Taylor going to be able to take home P3 here. Brilliant drive from him as well.
Yeah, congratulations to those the top 3. Jordan had to work hard in the early stages. In fairness, so did our race winner, didn't he? Because he dropped down to 2nd place. Oh, I have no idea what just happened in the background there. Is that Sintler just suddenly looked like he was up on the front nose, so I don't know what happened there.
Is that a disconnect?
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, Sintler disconnected.
Oh no, that's devastating, as he was coming down to Stowe to challenge Henriksen Bell. But Henriksen Bell, the number 42 car, comes through in 4th place. I'm sure they'll be looking at the incident with Lask, but that's nothing to do with us. We'll leave that to the powers that be. But here's Joel Lask, the Phoenix Sim Racing driver, that was just had so many good fights with people high up, etc., and as well as the direct battles later on. So through comes Last. That's 5th place. I think the good news for him is that that's only 1 place lower than he might have been able to get without the incident. But Brad Smith comes home in 6th position. I do feel for Sintler with that disconnect, because he was having a cracking race, so I don't know what happened there. Here comes Harley Connolly, the Graves Motorsport driver, is going to come home in 7th place. And we've still, I was about to say changed, but of course that's Sintler tumbling down the order after the disconnect, isn't it? He's going to be spitting bullets, isn't he?
So Thomas Potter Racing in chat just said Thomas's brake pedal snapped. We had to do, I can't read the rest of it because there's a stupid emoji in the way from my UI, but it does seem a brake pedal snap is very rare to see, and it's very unfortunate when it does happen, because that is practically race over if you have something like that happen. Still not 100% sure on what happened with Sintler. It did seem to be maybe a Wi-Fi disconnect if his nose was lifting up like you were mentioning, Chris. So I'm starting to think it's just the unfortunate, I guess you could say, joys of sim racing is you don't have this stuff in real life, but obviously you have a lot more major stuff happen in real life, which could be failures of gearboxes and all of that good stuff. But luckily, Wi-Fi can be recovered.
Crutzen run out of fuel then, so he didn't quite manage to get to the flag. That's why that car was stopped there on the side, the white and orange car that we saw. So it is a shame it went tumbling down through the order. But I believe that we have our top three in the room now. Let me just press this so I can make sure. We've got them all coming in. Nathan Williams, start with yourself. Well done, sir. Another great victory, but you did not get it your own way at the start of that race.
No, I think it's definitely something I need to improve on. I haven't been the best at starts. It's an improvement from the last round though, so hopefully I'll do better next round. But I was quite lucky then that I did manage to get past Nicky by the second corner, because if not, it would have been a much more different race.
Yeah, it was definitely an awful lot better than race 2 at Donington. There's no question about that, but you worked your way up there. Thereafter, it looked as though, I mean, would it be fair to assume that it was managing the race from that rather than just consistently pulling away? Or was that it? Was that the maximum you had?
I think that was the maximum I had. I think I tried to build a gap in the first stint just to try and cover off anything Nicky did in pit stops. And then I think Nicky just had a better pit strategy. He pitted a lap later, and it just allowed him to get a bit of time on me. Because obviously I expected to gain more with the undercut. And then in that second stint, I knew we had the better tyres, so it was just maximum attack. Trying to make sure he doesn't close down on me too much.
Yeah, we were sort of wondering whether you were going very hard after your pit stop, but you got away with it. How did the tyres fare up at the end of both of the stints?
The end of the first stint, they weren't too bad. But then the end of the second stint, they were completely gone because he was pushing right from the start. I didn't get the best outlap with him because I was trying to overtake Joel. So I had to push him loads in the outlap, and that really damaged him. And then pushing continuously through the race wasn't the best for him, so I ended up with nearly nothing left, nearly no rubber left in the final 2 laps.
Okay, we did wonder. It did look like a hard push. But you've made it 3 out of 3 wins so far. Totally different race, this one, as you suspected it would be. But you've got to leave here full of confidence.
Yeah, definitely. It was a very good race.
It was indeed. Well done, Nathan. A cracking victory. Nicky, congratulations on that second. We saw in qualifying that you were very, very close to Nathan this time. And you were there tantalizingly close by the looks of it.
Yeah, I mean, my start was mega. I think everyone around me either bogged or whatever with our gears. I think we needed a bit of clutch for the start, and yeah, I got it nailed and seemed to get past Nathan, and then there's a little tap going into the fourth corner, but was nothing in it, and then yeah, he just got the better run, and that was that. Yeah, just tried to stay behind him. Saw Jordan pitted a lap before me, or 2 laps before me, and I was kind of like, wow, you're adventurous, because that's quite early, but yeah, just kind of kept going, and my tyres weren't really getting that much worse. So when I saw Nathan pit, I thought I could stay to the same time I was doing the lap before, so I could try and maybe do an overcut, but it didn't work. But yeah, just kept trying to push. Was a bit ragged for the first 3 or 4 laps on that stint, but yeah, was overall happy, because yesterday I couldn't even get below a 2:12.3 on hards, and now today I've been doing 2:11.5s, so my times have just got better today, and it's been a lot more enjoyable.
What do you put that down to? That time improvement?
Jordan's setup, because Jordan I was using his Donington setup before, and then he's tweaked it a tiny bit, and I seem to have gained some time. But yeah, it's all down to his setup, because without it, I don't think I would have been as quick tonight. But yeah, I thank him for that, and we are a team, so he reluctantly gave me it, but at the end of the day, he did give me the setup, and it shows how quick his setup is by us 2 being second and third and not really being challenged behind. We just got to find that little few tenths to get Nathan, hopefully at Spa.
Well, top job, great second place, mate. Well done on that one.
Thank you, cheers.
Jordan, congratulations on the third place. It kind of looked like the start didn't go to plan, and it meant that you had to work those tyres and everything else really hard to get yourself back up into that third, which you did well, but I'd imagine it took its toll.
Yeah, and it's going to sound like a really good racing driver excuse, but for some reason, my Assetto Corsa sometimes shows me the lights or it doesn't show me the lights, and this time it didn't show me the lights, so I was relying on the actual lights on the track, but they didn't come on either, so I kind of had to go off any sort of timings I had on my screen, and it looked, well, from I haven't watched it back, but obviously you saw it live, it probably looked like I didn't move until everyone else passed me. I think I dropped down to 7th or so. So I was like, my goal, well, not my goal, but to get back to third, just to get back to where I started, and then see what their gap was when I got to them two, because they were gone by the time I got there. But yeah, I mean, that's why I pitted early, because I had that gap and I was a bit bored, so I was just pitted early and did some experimenting with some little things, which I'm not going to say because I was just testing for future races.
Oh, interesting. Now you got me intrigued. Probably everyone else listening intrigued as well. Absolutely phenomenal fight back then. Well done. Final question then is, does that mean with the early pit stop that your tyres were screaming foul play at the end of the race?
Yeah, I mean, I was experimenting, so I wasn't the most consistent. There was some laps where I almost put in a wall, but hopefully they didn't get caught on stream. Fingers crossed. But yeah, they weren't too bad. I was lapping not the best, but I wasn't really pushing because I knew there was no point really. I had a 20-odd second gap behind and had a gap ahead, so I was just literally, as I said, experimenting, trying different things, and seeing how it all went.
Well, it certainly was entertaining, that is for sure. So well done to Nathan Williams for the win, Nicky Taylor in second, Jordan Taylor in third. Well done to the three of you. I do see that he's popped in now because I see that our driver of the race that's been nominated by all of us had a fantastic event. And it is, I'm delighted to say, Joel Lask. Are you there, Joel?
I am indeed, yeah.
Hello, mate. We thought we'd lost you, that you disappeared off of all the chat. I have to say, genuinely, you whether it was when some of the top three came out from pit stops or the legitimate fights going on all around you, you had probably the busiest race going.
Yeah, I must admit that was a cracking race. It was a bit of a shame about the contact that we had through Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah.
Felt like I left a lot of room, and I just got fired off into a wall. So. Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing, but yeah, it was a good race all in all.
Well, the good news is that with sadly a driver that then moved ahead of you, Luke Sintler, he disconnected. It means you only lost one place in the end to what you could have got, and you've got driver of the race because seriously you impressed all of us with your fighting through that. So I hope that's some consolation. How, from a layman then in myself, how do you deal with that level of frustration when an incident like that happens to then be able to carry on?
I think it's one of those things, you know, that if it's happened, it's happened. There's nothing you can do about it. It's one of those ones where you try and get the car going again and then crack on. But yeah, the car stalled. I had to get it back into gear. I had to start the car again, and away we went. Luckily, we had a bit of a gap to Brad, I think, that was behind me. But these things happen, you know. Whether it's a racing incident or, you know, whether you get taken out, it is what it is. But yeah, we move. I definitely think there was a solid P4 on the cards there. I think we had the pace to hold it off, but you know, it's what it is.
No, well, I can understand, and we can certainly hear the disappointment and know where that would come from. But listen, from us, congratulations on your drive. It was absolutely brilliant, and I look forward to seeing what you can do at Spa.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you there to the top three and to our driver of the race, who of course gets the gloves. for getting that nomination. The calendar, as you say, we finished here round 2 now at Silverstone. We move on to Belgium, to Spa-Francorchamps for the 2 8-lap races on the 1st of October. Brands Hatch Indy Circuit for a night race, which ironically I'll be covering a race into the night in the real world at the end of next month myself. But I'll have a practice run at that with the 50-lap race, including pit stop on the 15th of October. Imola in November. Back end of November, we then go to Wiltshire to Castle Combe Circuit. Croft, we travel up north the day before my birthday on 10th of December for 2 18-lap races, and the championship reaches its conclusion on Cheshire's beautiful Alton Park Circuit for a 33-lap pit stop race on the 7th of January. It's been absolutely epic. Aces, just genuinely so much to talk about in that race, wasn't there?
I was surprised how much there was to talk about, because obviously Silverstone's such a big track compared to some of the other tracks on the calendar that we have this season. And with 20 cars, it's usually, I would consider a small grid for some, but I think I'm very spoiled for what I do commentate. But it was just amazing to see how much action there was between the 20 cars. It just shows you how close touring kart racing can provide and how close it actually is in general. Obviously, the championship has significantly changed for some participants today, but it definitely seems Nathan Williams will be extending his championship lead by a sweet amount, to say the least.
No, absolutely. So thank you from myself and Aces Alex Newman, Tom Farrell for the production, and I know that you had a couple of challenges to contend with behind the scenes. Well done, mate. You kept it going. And of course to Mick Sutton, the series organizer and the lazy safety car driver. But it's great. We'll have you sat in the pit lane every time, mate. We don't want a safety car. But thank you very much to everyone for joining us. Pro SIMRIG Super Touring 2024 series, supported by Pro SIMRIG, but it is a perfect acceleration sim racing organised series. And from all of us here, we look forward to seeing you next time. Let's take a trip over to Belgium.